I don't think it'd be controversial to say that Mega Man X isn't the most consistent sub-series. The quality difference between these games is arguably larger than that of any other Mega Man series. It has one of my favorite action platformers ever made, and also one of the worst and most lazy AAA titles I've ever seen. Despite that, there is one consistent artistic voice seen throughout the entire 8-game series. That being... the music. Mega Man has always had a certain reputation when it comes to music, and X comes in with its own selection of great songs. These are 7 of my favorite game soundtracks ever, and X8, which is still pretty good. So I thought it'd be fun to rank what I thought were the 15 best, most compelling level themes in the entire series. I also thought it'd be fun to do this with a friend, so I brought one along for this.
Hello everybody, my name is Marco me and Tails here decided to make a list of our love of the transcendent Mega Man X games music. These games changed platforming, and since Mega Man is a boss gauntlet, you have to have some pretty epic music. So here we are. Anyway, make sure to like and subscribe down below, or I'll come over to your house and kidnap your family.
And that is why I don't do subscriber call to actions. To make this, we both formed our own list and then kind of slammed them together to make our own definitive combined list. Just a note before we begin, I am not incredibly familiar with music theory and how to apply all of its terms and concepts correctly, and am also bad at correctly identifying instruments. I think I have a decent enough handle on it for this, but either way, please feel free to correct any mistakes I make on this list, and I hope that you'll hear me out anyway. That said, this took a lot of planning and tough choices until we settled on a list we were happy with, so I hope you enjoy this.
Coming in at number 15, we have Morph Moth X2. I have a soft spot for Morph Moth, as it is one of the most complex fights in gaming at the time, due to its multi-phase mechanic, and the music fits really well for the stage. It has percussion fitting to the feel of the fight, not intense, but definitely one to remember for sure.
This definitely wouldn't have made my own personal list, but re-listening to it, it does have quite a bit of merit to it. Out of all X songs, this one sounds most like it could have come from a classic Mega Man game, just in X2's sound font. There are multiple points where the music strikes out to add tension, which makes the first main section of the song feel more intimidating when it'd otherwise be pretty standard. The later portions of the song carry that intimidating energy after the second sting until a trill up carries us towards a much more aggressive end, and the loop back to the start is done very naturally. The gross intimidation as you go further into the building does a great job of making things feel uneasy. With destroyed robots reassembling in front of you, it's clear that something isn't right here, so tread carefully. It doesn't go quite as far as I wanted it to with this idea, but it explores it well enough. The song doesn't lean too much into just a twangy sound that harms a lot of X2's soundtrack. The instrumentation actually sounds very good here, and I especially like the subdued percussion and knowing when to use cymbals for impact. Not one of my personal favorites, but still well worth being here. Number 14, Optic Sunflower, Mega Man X8. Can I just mention real quick that for both this game and X7, when reloading my save, New Game Plus started, meaning I had to replay the intro stage, meaning I got to play more X7 than I initially planned. How great. Anyway, X8 may have been the weakest soundtrack for me, but this song gets it right. This theme is specifically the song when the challenges start, and it nails what it needed for these segments. The lead comes out really strong and energetic, motivating a stronger resolve and performance out of the player. The momentum of it gets stuck in your head really easily. However, it doesn't get lost in the excitement when parts of the main stage's theme are added for both some extra texture on top of the bass line and to counterbalance the lead directly. It's almost meditative feel being enhanced by the instruments around it to simply be soothing and reel in your mind for a moment within all the excitement while retaining a similar degree of forward energy to ensure you don't loosen up. It gets you locked in for just a small moment before letting the lead break back out into a new rhythm just as determined as the last. Keep that energy up, but also remember to stay focused.
For Optic Sunflower, the only way I can describe it is dynamic, to say the least. It fits with this stage and gives off a really good guitar photosynthesis vibe since, photosynthesis has a vibe. The enemy himself shoves crystals at you in an attempt to flatten you against the walls. In the distance is the cool futuristic digi background, and the music urges you to keep on your toes in the goofy fashion of the enemy you fight. At number 13, we have X7's very own Vanishing Gungaroo, a riddle to say the least. My only thoughts on this song are that I didn't agree it to be this high, but really, this song has some impressive background, and after some convincing, I think it should be here due to its tempo, and the boss gives it some favors.
I may hate this game more than the next guy, but even I have to admit that the music is great, this song being my favorite. The guitar's opening pattern is perfectly complemented with the percussion backing it. Meanwhile, the rest of the bass line that permeates the song does a great job complementing and standing out within everything else around it as the song progresses to make an impact of its own alongside the rest of the percussion making certain transitions. The leading pattern shifts to initiate more forward momentum before moving into X7's signature electronic style. The synth takes the leads with a few more keyboards right behind it for a bit of a texture. The shift makes sense considering how much more of the tunnel you're invading progresses to be more technologically driven. You're diving deep into a hidden factory-like base and the music parallels it. This being the only stage in the game with ride armors and its boss using one complements this idea as well. The song's visceral feel, especially before the synth comes in, fits the idea of blasting through an underground base in complete confidence that you can win this. Number 12, Izzy Glow, Mega Man X5. Yes, we're using the uncorrected names of the X5 Mavericks because Izzy Glow is undeniably a better name than Shining Firefly. This song mainly just hits a well-paced groove with the fluctuations in volume in the main guitar hitting different levels of energy, complementing each other with the melodies that they play. The way it splices around its more complementary pieces and drives the song forward makes for an energizing piece that remains remarkably cohesive, especially remarkable considering how many interval splice and electronic elements. About half the percussion is meant to sound artificial in contrast to the rest of the instruments that sound more authentic. The mixing is completed by how impactful the main guitar is as it comes and goes, sometimes cutting itself off before laying back entirely to let the electronics handle progression only to make its subsequent crescendo hit harder. Visceral touches that gives the song's progression that last needed bit of character to further stand out amongst X5's music, and at that, it succeeds.
While I don't have much experience with X5 as I've only played through half the game, I don't have much of an opinion, and I really can't have much of an opinion, but I do love the X games, and X5 is one of my favorite. I feel Izzy Glow's theme was a good fit for number 12. All of the synchronized repeating, synthesizer, and electronic elements held for a good high B-tier boss fight. It kept the feel of a Mega Man game, and the exquisite guitar ties in with the synth. It is a fight that fit this game perfectly, an electronic robo-rumble. The song has a part where it gets quiet, then the guitar with no synth, then the synth builds up, and surprise! More guitar. But seriously, X5 is probably my third favorite of the series, and this music makes you want to fight the boss all over again. I personally think that 11 is a good spot for Crystal Snail. It starts out slow and unassuming, but it progresses into a nice underwater xylophone beat. It's strung together well with the stage, and it is certainly a calm alternative to some of the other X themes. Magma Dragoon.
We had your favorite X2 song earlier, so now it's time for mine. The xylophone opening the song gives off a very curious feel, begging you to explore the supernatural looking cave. It also captures the allure of the giant crystals that also try to get you to see what else this mysterious cavern holds. As this happens, the drums make way for X2's signature twangy sounding lead to echo through the rest of the cave and refocus the player. This is a rare song where it doesn't feel excessive or out of place because of how it fits the environment and the result of the scenario. It focuses on the cave's ethereal appearance in a different way than the opening, to remind you why you're here. It centralizes you on your goal of simply getting through, and while the violin chords acknowledge the serene setting, it lies in the background, not to be focused on, instead serving only to play a small role in the whole of the area and your goal within it. Don't get lost in all the wonder of what's around you, because you have a mission here. Number 10, opening stage, Mega Man X. Of course this one made the list, the first level of the entire series, and the music made a powerful opening. Powerful is the perfect word to describe this song. The lead sounds reinforced and flawlessly captures the player's attentions for two main reasons. As the first 16-bit Mega Man game, the instrumentation was a massive step up in musical quality, leading with a level of rock that most chiptunes and composers couldn't pull off. Certainly not to this degree, and certainly foreign to the music the series had on prior consoles. This song stood out right from the get-go along with the eye-catching, exciting visuals. Which brings me to my next main point. The song also portrays a great sense of urgency. It's ready to kick you into the action by telling you that something demands your immediate attention and action. When the song ramps up, it comes out even stronger in keeping you moving forward. This is as good a first impression for the series music as we could have asked for, perfectly playing into the game's next generation appeal.
I can't believe this is at number 10. This song brings me so much nostalgia and joy because Mega Man X1 is my favorite game out of all of the X games. I would download emulators of this game, and it wasn't until like Christmas of 2023 that I got the whole X collection and 100%ed this whole game. Its opening track rings through my ears as a symphony reflecting the fast-paced side-scroller that it is. A marvelous encapsulation of my favorite X game. I agree with Tails on this stage. It was just running up and down with very poor design choices. But once again, they nailed the Fire Boss's intensity and matching it with equally heavy music. It really does reflect the frustrating mindset of playing this stage. A fine song, but honestly, the Bossy stage doesn't compare.
Holy crap, this stage is horrible! That said, the music is fantastic. Because X6 has my favorite soundtrack of the bunch, it should be no surprise that it takes up a good chunk of the top 10 entries. While intensity is a word that could describe a lot of songs in this series, this one captures it like no other. From the very first moment of the song, the percussion is firing off with breaks in between being very brief and infrequent. Between that and the fast-paced chords passing through, the pace is immediately set higher than that of most songs in the series. The speed has little grounding it and keeping it in check. It's spiraling out of control the entire time, with each instrument joining and getting swept up into the explosive speed of the events. The only moment which the song slows down, it feels visceral and concentrated, and is between the two most climactic moments as to not break the flow for too long. The maintaining of said flow is accomplished by what might be the most seamless loop on the list. I feel the song this intense and energetic makes sense for a gauntlet of difficult and definitely not annoying foes one after another. It portrays a scrambled headspace constantly making split-second adjustments and decisions on the fly in the minimal time allotted. This battle is adapt or die, and you're not going to be let off easy for a second. Number 8. Duff McWhalen, Mega Man X5. This stage was my excuse to get another X2 song in by technicality. This is a remix of the already excellent Bubble Crab theme from that game, and it does feel like a perfected version of the song. The opening notes sound more defined as the wave up and down comes out stronger, and the background of this portion also sounds like a choir that completes the feeling of drifting across the ocean that this opening invokes. The transition following this strikes out hard so the player can realign themselves just in time for the main portion of the song that feels equal parts intense and relaxed. The use of the electric guitar here works perfectly along with the same choir sound in the background that's now marginally more muffled. Both parts sound laid back, rippling through the water, but the total effect they create is a song with as much energy as high as it is deliberate. The transitions though come out clear to stand out and make sure your surroundings don't get to you.
I love the Duff McWhalen theme. It's like Sonic and Mega Man had a perfect underwater love child. Don't quote me. This boss makes me feel like I really am underwater with the feel of the unknown, not ready for what's going to come out of the right side of the screen next. It keeps you engaged with an upbeat track with a high synth transition. It really puts you in a rock concert under the seas. Oh boy, this song is one of the pinnacles of Mega Man X fire stages, with the strong opening, not too loud but orchestrated enough to make it this far up. Magma Dragoon sets the stage, literally, for a tremendous Maverick theme. It starts fast with a really good beat, and the rest of the song does really well to work around and complement it. The Dragoon's beat doesn't loop well, however, but hearing the beginning lets you know you're in for a spicy battle.
This series has consistently great fire level scenes, with it all peaking right here. The percussion in this one is probably my favorite of anything on the list for how it pairs with the lead and the level design itself. Everything is punctuated so perfectly, and it makes what should be an intimidating scenario actually work well with Mega Man X4's upbeat electronic style. This is partially because of the bassline filling the intimidation quota, leaving just enough to remind you of the consequences should you make a mistake. Like I already said, every rise and drop in the lead is punctuated by the percussion. It genuinely feels like the rhythm of the song matches that of the stage. Every dash and jump comes with an accompanying note, beat, or transition as you move forward, weaving through the fire. The notes get heavier over time to increase the emphasis, the two almost sounding like they're in perfect sync with each other in a way that stands out and makes both the song and the stage more enjoyable together. This also applies, albeit to a lesser extent, to the second half that is very rarely heard because the stage just ends too fast. The percussion may sound simple, but it holds the song together because it plays an indispensable role in linking gameplay with music. Number 6, Spark Mandrill, Mega Man X. I'm pretty sure I'd be hunted down and killed if this song didn't make the list, so thankfully for my safety, I'm with you guys on thinking this song is insanely good. X1 has songs that can most easily be simply described as really freaking cool and then have nobody complain. This song wastes no time getting the energy high, and from the initial blast off it only escalates. This is first done by adding a sequence of chords to the opening and it plays again right before cutting it off and toning down the bass to give the lead the space it needs to leave a stronger impact, as it kicks up the volume and energy. By the end of the song they escalate further, making the player just as invested in the music as the gameplay, for many even eclipsing their investment and enjoyment of that from the stage they're playing. This is a key example of music making a stage go from good to a standout level of great.
Oh my gosh, yes, another X1 representative. For Spark Mandrill's theme, the musicians were going absolutely wild. It is one of the more smoothly looped songs. It uses the same layers as the rest of the X1 songs, making it a masterpiece to listen to while platforming. A fun song for Fun Boss, unless you're not using Freeze. I've made that mistake many times. Smashing in at number 5 is Gravity Beetle's theme from X3. Its instrumentality uses synth very well, and it is all synced together. Sometimes a simple orchestrated tone is all that is needed to create a truly memorable boss battle, and that's exactly what we see here. A good boss battle brought together by its action-packed theme.
It's rare to get a song so beautiful with instrumentation this aggressive. The percussion at the start makes way for the lead, which remains energetic and exciting to fit with the high energy of the gameplay, but has a sense of tension alongside it. That tension simultaneously pushing and pulling you between your previous successes and your future goal, a grapple with moving forward no matter how difficult it seems to get. The emotions intensify when the verse repeats itself with further heightened notes. The song then crescendos into its second half where it sounds like the lead is crying out, overwhelmed and torn apart by the circumstances surrounding it, trying to steel itself for a moment twice before giving back into the emotion. Every time it wails back out, it only gets more intense than the last. Even the way it loops back plays into the emotion of both halves and how they both progress. It all gives a feeling of looking off into that sunset, securely knowing that you've made it a long way on this journey, but you still have a long way left to go. Number 4, Infinity Mijinion, Mega Man X6. Why does this game's worst stages have the best music? The opening is triumphant, powerful, and sounds just enough like the final countdown to be uncanny. The lead instrument for the first half is an easygoing sound that's instrumentation ends up fitting right in with the more intense electric guitar sound that takes up the song's second half, and making it fit the desired tone despite the lighter noise and pitch. The higher range of the instrument is put to good use, and it's backed really well by the bass line. The bass then shifts as the leads tag out, creating a more focused and deliberate tone. While the first half did a good job pushing the player forward, now it's time for you to run off on your own. The song's controlled pace also reels in the action on screen a bit to make it seem just a bit more manageable. In a stage where designers are throwing literally everything they can at you, the song encouraging the player rather than intimidating them and making their situation seem more manageable keeps the song in players' minds after the fact as the highlight and driving force of the stage. All the instruments are used masterfully to keep the player moving forward to an environment so daunting. It won't be easy, but rest assured, you got this.
Infinity Mijinion's theme is quite obvious what the first sequence is referring to. This song starts out good and gets better, breaking off into a guitar solo that is not at all deserving of this boss. As I found it quite easy and not really feeling like an X-boss. This song loops just fantastic, and to really understand you have to hear it for yourself. It'll bring you right back to 2018. Oh my god, this song is crazy. It's what inspired me to make this whole video with my pal in the first place. I dropped into this stage with no expectation, but it just blew me away. Off the moving platforms and to my demise. But that's besides the point. It's an amazing original track with repeating parts and amazing synth guitar that is by far the best in X1. And I would argue it deserves the number 2 spot, but kept in here because, you know, it is a fantastic song, and the story behind the boss wasn't quite enough to beat out the other top tiers though.
Of every song in this list, this one would most easily be described as really freaking cool. Despite garnering a similar response to most other songs in the game, the instrumentation is very distinct from what's used in most other themes. It sounds as if the music itself is soaring through the air, the percussion not being enough to fully ground it. It also portrays the appropriate sense of danger and urgency, helped by the beginning that lasts just long enough that when X hits the floor, the lead starts around the same time. You're given a warning before you hit the ground running. The same sound also overlaps at the end as the intensity drops after the peak of the song. That ending also keeps their energy and sense of danger high in a way that only encourages you to keep up with it as it shoots higher. It only makes sense that one of the best stages in the series would come with one of the best songs in the entire series. It's soaring ahead of you, just waiting for you to catch up. Number 2, opening stage, Mega Man X6. If I had it my way, this song would easily be number 1. Sadly, this is as high as I could try to force it up. Unfortunate because this is in my top 10, maybe even top 5 for video game songs of all time. The opening comes in strong to brass, firing off a powerful march forward to the site of Earth's destruction. From there, the song quickly transitions into a light, outright beautiful melody that hits a delicate emotional balance. It's a perfect simultaneous sound of triumphant hope and reminiscent despair. You're standing in front of a site where the accident that almost ended humanity occurred. Here, you're back as a shining beam of hope holding a physical memory of what was lost, ready to fight to restore the world to where it was. As it goes on, the rhythms get more dramatic as the hopeless scenario grows, that emotion being dictated only by your drive to continue. Despite the tragedy that's affected the world as we know it, you have to wipe those tears from your face and continue moving forward. The fate of the world is in your hands, and there's no one else left to fight.
This music and sequence reminds me a lot like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Naruto, running straight into danger even though the world just got pummeled by the city in the sky. And lets your spirit continue into this masterpiece. After the events of X5 fresh in your mind, you gotta be faster, you gotta be stronger, you gotta be darn good at X. And this opening, for one of the more underwhelming of the series, but still good enough to force it to number 2 because of the context we're given. And last but certainly not least, we come to our first place winner, opening stage X4. The song starts off with a riff going low into a few trichords and perfectly transition into the meat of the song. Even a little context of the X4 game makes all the difference to the way you hear the opening stages. But I'll leave that for my associate to articulate because I am absolutely certain that he can find better words that will be deserving of this opening sequence.
After the great opening, everything climbs up into the incredibly energetic and powerful main portion. It matches everything: the ethereal view of the Sky Lagoon, the immediate sense of danger when it starts crashing, and the determination to continue as you climb out of its ruins. It doesn't get caught up in the destruction the same way X6's opening does. Instead, it is encouraging and determined. It dives further into that feeling as it goes on, never cutting off the melody once it's introduced, letting it play over the differing percussion that itself strengthens as it goes on. And the very end, when they both intensify within their roles with a higher pitch and volume respectively, is one of the most musically satisfying and most harmonious moments of any song in the entire series. It all comes together in that moment, absolutely cementing the idea. As X says himself, it's time to get serious. But despite that, it keeps the excitement factor and plays into a similar level of next generation appeal as X1, with its own innovation and sound quality unique to its generational shift that pairs with the visuals that do the same. It may not have been my number one subjectively, but between us, it absolutely earns the spot as the number one song in the entire Mega Man X series. And that was our list. I hope our points were coherent or at least entertaining. I once again remind you that I'm not great with this, and if I misinterpreted something or if misidentified an instrument or something like that, please feel free to flame me for it. I'm being serious, that'd be pretty funny. It'd be helpful if I ever decide to do something like this again. So, to my partner for this, any sign off before I send you to the Shadow Realm?
Remember to subscribe to the channel or else sacrifice your family to Sephiroth and the gang.
Thanks for joining me, and thank you all for watching. Hope you have a great day.